everybody, it's Julie. Welcome to Hello Monday. Now, during the recent blog hop for the brand new Essentials by Ellen release, I shared this really fun card that uses Up the Happy and it has a honeycomb balloon embellishment on it, but I didn't have time to get a video done for the hop. So I'm sharing this card today and how I did that. So I'm going to start by getting my card base ready, and I'm using the basic alpha to spell out what I want. And as you saw on the picture of the card, it says best day ever. And I find that using the little B die positioner, because it's plastic and it has a grid on it, is awesome for lining up my clear stamps. And that's primarily what I use it for instead of positioning my dies. So now that I've got everything spelled out and lined up properly, and I love being able to see the letters from the right direction because I have a problem whenever I look at them from the wrong direction. I usually misspell something, or I just can't figure out how to get it lined up nice and straight when I look at it from the back. So now that I've got everything lined up from the front direction, I'm going to go ahead and set that down into the MISTI. This is a stamp positioning tool that's awesome for mass production. I'm going to transfer those alphabet stamps to the lid. I just want to make sure I'm closing that down and getting it right exactly where I want it. And then I'm going to peel away the die positioning sheet by little b and set that aside because I don't need it anymore. So now that my stamps are transferred and everything's nice and straight, I'm going to ink up with some VersaFine Onyx Black, and I actually put a full card front into the MISTI, and I had it folded in half, and those magnets are going to hold everything in place. And this is great if you want to do mass production. Then I'm going to take the round balloon from Up the Happy. I love this balloon. And I decided that I needed to determine where I wanted the honeycomb to go first. And that's going to be my first balloon that gets stamped down. And then I know where to position everything else because I know that's going to be my focal balloon. Then I went ahead and grabbed the balloon string and got that stamped into place. And for me, sometimes it ends up being easier if I rotate my paper while I'm working to get everything lined up the way I want it. Now, after I did this, I decided I wanted to take a little bit different direction with the card, and I didn't want to make it a single layer card. So I went ahead and chopped off the back, and then I'm going to trim this panel down using my tonic guillotine trimmer. And I just saved the back for a future project, and this is going to become a panel that gets mounted onto a base card. But I just decided I wanted some different color added to it, and in this way I could add my pinking edge here. This is a die by Pretty Pink Posh that has the stitches and the little zigzag edge, and it's so cute. I just love that pinking edge. So I just cut a strip of scrap cardstock there and die cut that out, and then I could mount it flush on the back side of that panel so it's peeking out. And then I'm going to use some foam tape to 3D mount this whole panel to the front of a really soft pink note card. And this note card, I can't remember the name of the pink, but it's just a soft rose. So I have to admit it was driving me nuts that I couldn't remember the name of this paper, and it is actually Pale Rose, and it's from the Card Shop line by Basil. It's time to get the honeycomb paper ready, and there's a couple of different companies that are making the honeycomb papers. Inky Antics makes Honey Pop in fun colors, and DIY Party has a line of small honeycomb papers that We Are Memory Keepers produces. So I'm actually going to be working with the Inky Antics Honey Pot paper for my project. I wanted this white color, and I just wanted to show you how the glue lines, these are alternating glue lines that glue the layers of tissue paper together, and when you get them all layered together, that's how you end up with that honeycomb effect. It's really cool. And the DIY Party papers by We Are Memory Keepers come in a pad, so you get two pads of honeycomb paper that are kind of glued together, and then you just separate the pads and work with one pad at a time. But it's important to pay attention to where those glue lines are running, or the direction of those glue lines, and you can see I'm trying to show you how they run the width of those papers, and that's going to be important when you're cutting out your shape. Now, these papers are too thick for you to use an actual low profile die. You could use a Biggs if you wanted to, but I'm just going to take a symmetrical shape like the balloon here, and I'm just going to trace it and cut it out by hand because I'll never get through it completely with a low profile die. And I needed it to be bigger than the stamped balloon so I can cover it all up. And if I traced on the inside of the die, I was afraid the balloon would be too small. And once it's too small, well, then you're kind of stuck. So it was easier to make it bigger and then trim it down if I needed to. So I'm just going to take my scissors here and cut this shape out. It's a little bit thick, so you do want to take your time and be careful as you're cutting through it, but it's not hard to cut through. It just takes a little bit of time because it's so thick. And then I'm gonna keep it closed and put some adhesive tape here on one half and then flip it over and get the adhesive tape on the other. Now, if you cut out a symmetrical shape, a whole shape, you would want to cut that shape in half to get the honeycomb effect. So I'm taking my half balloon here, or it's basically a circle, and I'm going to tape down one side and leave it closed, and then I can go ahead and peel away the tape once I get under it there with my tweezers. And then I can flip that over, and I'm going to use the tip of my tweezers to get into those wells to press down that other side nice and firmly, because I don't want to smash my honeycomb balloon now that I've gotten it to this point. Now I can do the tinting, and the fun thing about this is that I just used some alcohol markers. Copic markers work perfectly for this. I thought about using water-based markers, but I was worried that the water base would deteriorate the tissue paper because it's so delicate, and I figured Copic markers, because of the alcohol, would be the perfect solution. I was really glad I went this route. And all I'm doing is just shifting and opening the honeycomb paper in different areas so I can get the brush nib of my marker down in those wells and just wiggle it around to tint those wells of honeycomb. And I felt like a little bee getting in there and pollinating a flower. But it turned out so cool. I absolutely love it. And to finish it off, I decided to add some of these really pretty iridescent white sequin trim. And it comes on a string. It's already pre-strung for you. And I just trimmed off what I thought I needed. And then to mount it, I'm just going to add a glue dot because I already put the honeycomb balloon on there. It was kind of an afterthought to put this sequin trim. And I realized I had just enough room there. If I put a glue dot at the middle of that strand of sequins, I could just barely lift up my honeycomb and tuck it underneath there and glue it down, and that would hold it in place. And then to make sure that the sequins don't fall off the string, I pulled a couple of extras off and I saved them for embellishing a future project, but I used glossy accents on the end of the twine there behind the last sequin at the end so that it would kind of work as a stopgap. Just glue it, that last sequin there, into place on the string so none of the rest of them will start slipping off depending on how much handling the card gets. So now one further embellishment, a little bit of stickles. Of course, glitter doesn't help on a birthday card, right? Best day ever. So I took some of the diamond stickles and ran a bead of that just above the pinking, and I thought it turned out awesome. So this is super fun, super easy, a great way to get a multicolored honeycomb effect. All the supplies are available at ellenhutson.com. We've got more still shots at the Classroom blog, and thanks for watching.